Hello, I'm Brigantia Blackbird of the Blackbird Grimoire. Welcome back to Wicca 303. Today we are talking about legacy. And you'll see we begin with this little quote that I found from the musical Hamilton, of all things, that defines legacy as planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. So plant your legacy, because whether a life is public or private, a person does leave behind a legacy of some kind. And thankfully, we do have a lot of choice and a lot of options with what kind of legacy we leave behind. And it's especially vital for those of us in the craft. I mean, pagans in general, but for those of us in the craft, we really have this need to leave behind the legacy of our faith and practice, so that the next generation is better off than we are, that has a little bit more information, a little bit more sense of what the big picture might be, and just to not have to start all over from scratch the way so many of us feel like we had to. So, your story. It is a special thing to be called onto the craft, whether or not you're a well-known practitioner. That does not matter. Your story of how your practice came into being, what you learned, and what it means to you, that really does matter, particularly if you have children. Telling them about this, teaching them as appropriate, it is vital for both the creation and the endurance of your legacy, because if you are a practitioner, the odds are is that at least one of your children probably inherited your talent. And so giving them some idea of how they might utilize it, whether or not they become full-fledged practitioners or not, will be very helpful to them. So, your perspective. There are insights about life, magic, and the gods that only you will observe, because no one else is looking at things through your vantage point. And sharing that perspective, whether it's on the large or small scale, that adds to the overall scope of the craft. And it may be something that seems very small to you, unimportant, even blindingly obvious, but you never know when that thing that you've seen that others haven't is just the missing puzzle piece that helps things fall into place for them. And then that brings us to your vision. We always have the question of what kind of witch do you want to be, or what kind of witch are you? And the question is often perceived as what path are you choosing, or if you're specializing in your craft in some way. But if you reframe this as what sort of reputation your character and practices have, that can shine a brighter light on the choices you have before you. When you want to be what kind of a witch, that means what kind of a person, what kind of a priest, what kind of a practitioner, what is it that defined your practice? That's more so of what the question ought to refer to. So this brings us to your shadow. As a witch or a wizard, you are consciously connected to the web of creation in a very unique fashion, and that connection goes an awful long way. You do cast a shadow, and that shadow of your influence exists whether you will it or not, whether you're particularly aware of it or not. So the choice before you really is the nature of that influence. What kind of energy are you putting out into the universe, and are you proud of it? And it's very important to ask yourself that question from time to time, because we all make mistakes. We all have situations where we handled it a bit badly, or someone caught us on a moment where perhaps we weren't at peak peopling in that particular moment, and we didn't handle things very well. That all of that energy from both our successes and our mistakes, it is going out into the universe. So taking stock from time to time, that can be very informative for us, especially if we've been pursuing a particular course for a while, looking at what it has wrought. That can help us evaluate, do we want to continue going down that path, or is it time to do something else? Is it not leading where you thought it would? Was there perhaps some mistaken thinking on your part, and you're saying, oh, okay, now that I see where this leads, this isn't who I want to be remembered as. This isn't something that I want for my life now. This isn't an example I want to set for my children. And this is not a way that I want my brother and sisters in the craft really to be perceived by outsiders. So looking at that from time to time can be useful. So, our homework for May 17th through May 24th. Number one, it may be early days for you on your path, but no doubt you do have hopes. Journal about those. Number two, meditate on what a good legacy for a practitioner might be. And this is in your own judgment. You're not imposing this on anyone else. This is just, what do you actually think? Because if you have that vision of it, that'll help direct your own steps. And finally, third, seek the God's guidance on this matter. They might have some thoughts in store for you about what direction you go and ultimately what legacy you leave from that direction. So that is what I have for you this week. Next week, we will be talking about whispers and nudges in the magical sense. So I hope you'll be back for that. In the meantime, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, leave them for me in the comments section below or email me at brigantiablackbird@protonmail.com. But that'll do it for now. Bye.